Hey guys, it's Mo from Mo's Game Table. I'm here on Gimpy's Game channel today to talk with Steve Overton about his game, Kontact Now Red Eclipse, which is going to be coming out from Lock and Load Publishing. Steve, thanks for coming on, and let's talk about your game and let everybody know what this game is all about.
Okay. Well, the game is about the Soviets and the Americans coming into conflict in West Germany in 1989, and it evolved from Fire Team, which is an old West End game, and that's what was in that game. And since we're updating that game, that's what's in this game.
Well, you mentioned Fire Team. Now, talk to everybody about what the differences are between Fire Team and Kontact Now, or Red Eclipse, because Kontact Now is the series name.
The big difference in this whole process is the tactical event cards. The old game had random chip draw, which I kept, modified that a little bit, but we added the tactical events, and we went with the OODA loop, which was created by the Air Force for their people to understand the importance of how fast things happen, and if you can make decisions faster than the other team, then you can win. And so we tried to put that in with the game and then update the system so that it's quicker and easier to play.
Well, you mentioned the OODA loop. Now, talk a little bit about that for the people at home may not be aware of it, how it actually impacts playing the game.
Okay, OODA is observe, orient, decision, and then act. So when you get those in there, you observe what they're doing, then you orient your forces, and then you make your decision and you create the action that's going to do that. The Soviets have a different form of military art than the United States Army does. They're much more rigid than we are, so they may have more of a situation where they move more troops than you do, but not as many, and the Americans will move less troops but more often. So the Americans are more fluid than the Soviets are. So that's really what that is. The OODA loop in this game shows the differences between the two militaries and how they react differently in their combat situations, what they expect to achieve.
We have tactical event cards you're talking about, and you have data cards here as well, but we've got some American and some Soviet event cards. Let's just take a look at a couple of them. Explain how these work, and does each player get a hand of cards, or they get replenished, or you get just a set amount?
Normally, you'll get 4. Now that can change. You can get 0 or up to 6. So far, we've got scenarios with 6 cards in them. The cards show whether they can be activated by a tank unit or infantry. It tells what the event does, and it gives you the rule right on the card, so you don't have to go looking in the rules to play the card. It'll tell you when, which action, if you're going to activate infantry or armor, or if it's in a leader activation, it's got a symbol on there for the leader activation as well.
Top right of the card on your screen.
Yes, and so the cards, you normally get a hand of 4. They can be played any time in the turn. And the turn's broken down into impulses depending on how many leaders you have on the board and what their capacity is, if they're broken or disruptive or whatever they are. Then when you start the turn, you'll have 4 cards, and you can immediately start playing the cards. We've had turns before where no chits have been drawn for activation of units on the map, and 2 cards have been played by each side before anything stops. The turn doesn't end until all of the activations are done and both sides say they don't want to play an event card. Okay. So there's 50 cards in each deck, and they represent the training of that military. So the Soviets will have, for instance, the Soviets may have 6 artillery request cards. The Americans may only have 2. The events are the same, but the amount of events inside of them are not the same. So it reflects what their training is. Sure. and what each military can do. The goal was to be able to have you be able to play whichever nationality in the game that you're sitting down to play in the series. And you don't have to know what the Soviet doctrine was in 1989, because with the chip draw that allows you to draw and move their units, and the tactical events. That's how the Soviets work.
Sure.
So each one of them is already set for design for speed of play and without you having to be forced to be knowledgeable about what you're going to do.
Yeah, well, that makes it easier for the gamer to jump in without, as you said, knowing the doctrines of either militaries. Now, I see 3 different dice here. We've got a white, we've got a black, and we've got a red D6. Now, explain what those functions are in the game.
The series covers everything from 1936 to 20 years in the future. To cover 1936 and bolt action rifles in World War II, we have a white die. So if you have a unit that has a 3 on it and a white 3, then you would add this 3 or whatever you roll on the white die to that number. If you have a 3 with a black number on it, then you would add the white number and the black number, because the black numbers represent automatic weapons like assault rifles. Okay. If you have a red number on there, could still be a 3, you can add the red die on here. Red die are generally reserved for explosives. Mm-hmm. So if you have grenades or artillery, sure, napalm, whatever, then that would have a red die, and you would add all 3 of those to whatever the attack was. So the white die is covering bolt action rifles, the black die is covering assault weapons, and the red die is covering explosives.
Okay. And you roll them all at once, or? You
roll them all at once. We roll all 3 dice every single time because we've included triples in the game, and triples are a special event. So if you roll all 2s in here or whatever you're going to get, then you'll go and check the chart, and that is going to be a result, but it's also going to give you a special event.
All right, now, where does this game fit in the realm of tactical games? Today we've got Conflict of Heroes from Academy, we've got Band of Brothers from Worthington, and we've got Lock and Load Tactical from Lock and Load, we've got ASL from MMP, you've even got Panzer Grenadier out there, Advanced Rook System, all these different tactical systems. Where does this one fit in that realm?
The closest one to what Kontact Now is going to end up being is the Combat Commander game series, because of the cards. As far as it obviously has an ASL lineage, it obviously has a Fire Team lineage from West End Games. It's very connected to them. You can see those games right in it. And then the cards came from the idea of Combat Commander when I played it a little bit, and I liked that series. I just didn't like card driven. So you can play the game without the cards if you like. The cards don't do anything except add options for the game player.
No, so if you said that you can play without these cards, it just removes options from the game. Would you recommend that for a first-time player?
No. The game is so simple. When we teach people and we show the game at conventions and stuff, by the middle of the second turn, without them having seen the rules or anything, I stop the game and ask them, how do you feel about the ease of play with the game? And can you play the game now without me prompting you? And by the middle of the second turn, we've not had anybody say no yet.
Well, I saw that was very true yesterday, because I saw you getting the floor wiped with you by an 11-year-old.
That's exactly right. And my spot is still down there on that floor, too.
He was housing you pretty good. So now, when do you expect this to be out available to the public? I know that that's still kind of a decision with Lock and Load, but how far along in development do you feel this is?
We're trying at the moment to have this game ready to give to Lock and Load Publishing by the first part of September, sometime in the September range. So hopefully that will get it out by Christmas, not knowing how the Chinese will react to all the things going on in the world today. But as we're pretty close to being done. It's pretty close to being finished.
Well, good deal. Sounds very interesting, and looking forward to seeing this. Thanks a lot, Steve, for stopping by and talking to us. Appreciate your time, and you've been watching The Gimpy Gamer on YouTube. I'm Mo from Mo's Game Table, and see you guys next time.